So let's recap what we have covered so far. Alhamdulillah. So the first day, we introduced you to who you are. Who are you? So we discussed this question in detail and we explored who we are. So, okay. Right, let's continue. So, who are you was the big question. So, you are not body, not mind, not ego. Right. So, today, just want to go a little bit in depth on this point here. The mind. So, as I said, we are starting with self-psychology, right? So, self-psychology basically is the study about yourself, right? To discover yourself, who you are and why are you here and what's your purpose and all of those things. Okay. So we introduced you to yourself. You are Ruh. And we said Ruh is the nafkh of Allah. And it is in this human body. And yesterday we started Masnavi and we learned that the Ruh has been separated from its source, right? And it's here in your body and it is crying and wanting to go back. Okay. Now, what does the Ruh function as in your body? What are its functions? Okay. So it has many functions, but the one I'm going to discuss today is the mind. Right. So let's discuss the mind. So the mind is what drives the body. Okay, so let's write it here. Mind drives brain, right? Brain drives body. Drives body. Okay, so the mind drives the brain drives the body. Body expresses expresses, where we go now? Life. Okay, so let's understand this 3 lines properly. So the mind drives the brain, right? So it all starts from the mind. Then the brain drives the body. The body expresses life. That's how you function. And that's how you have been functioning all along right now. Now, the question is, how does the mind drive the brain? Because once you understand what the mind is, then we can understand what's going on here in the rest of this whole thing will be understood. So let's understand the mind. Okay, so here is the mind. So this is just just to make you understand what is going on in your body, right? Impulses according to psychologists. I don't know. I can't even pronounce that word. Psychologists. Okay. Now, let's see. So this is the mind, right? Inside here, there is another mind. Right? And inside here, there is another mind. And inside that one, there is another mind. Now, this mind is called, where's my text? This mind is called non-conscious. Excuse my spelling. I think it's conscious, like that, I think. Non-conscious, right? Then we have conscious. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So then we have this mind, which is called subconscious. Right. Then we have another thing. Another mind within there is called, where is the text? Conscious. Right? This is called the conscious mind. And then lastly, we have this one here, which is called unconscious. Right. I'm going to use the highlighter now. So this whole thing here is your mind, right? And it's divided into four. The first layer is the non-conscious mind. This is according to the scientists and according to the sociologists and whatever you may call them, brainologists, and those who study the brain and the mind and how the everything is functioning, right? So this is how they have divided it. And I tend to agree with this division. So this is the first part of your mind is non-conscious, right? Non-conscious is working 24/7, it's always active. So the non-conscious is the life force that's driving everything in your body, okay? So your non-conscious is the mind that is basically keeping you alive. We would call it ruh, but they refer to it as the non-conscious mind, right? It's 24/7 active, it never sleeps. It's from the time you got life in your mother's stomach till the time you die, it is functioning, okay? So we will call this ruh, right? But they call it the non-conscious mind, right? So let's just go along with their definition, which is non-conscious. So this part of the mind this part of the mind is always active 24 hours. Okay? Now, this part of the mind, the subconscious, is the bridge between this non-conscious and the conscious. So let's understand what is the conscious, then we'll understand what is subconscious. So conscious mind is the one that you are using right now. You are using right now. You are awake, your senses are awake, you can hear me, you can see the board, you can see what I'm doing on the board, right? You can see the red line moving. This is, you are consciously experiencing the activity and life that is happening around you. This is conscious, right? Non-conscious is the thing that is powering your conscious, okay? But the non-conscious does not communicate directly with the conscious. There is a bridge. It's called the subconscious. So to understand this, it's like this. So let's say, for example, let's say the non-conscious is a forest. Let me use a bit of a different color. See what color can we use? How do we pick a color? Right. So they say this is a forest with infinite amount of trees. Right. So the whole thing here, the whole forest here is the non-conscious mind's territory or its field of activity. So this is where it's functioning. It's browsing through every tree and every leaf and every branch and everything, and it's empowering all the leaves, all the trees, all the barks, all the beaks, all the branches, and everything in this forest. So this forest here is your non-conscious, right? It's always active and looking at which plant needs what, and which plant is active and which plant is dying, or which plant needs repair, or which plant needs whatever assistance it may need. So the non-conscious is always active and browsing through the entire mind. So the entire mind, the whole mind, because the non-conscious covers everything, right? So it's always active and looking for what is going on in its field of activity, right? Now, let's say this non-conscious discovers that there is one tree over here that is got a problem. So let's say the non-conscious, while browsing, it found a tree or something in your body or your life or your experience that is causing a red flag. So what the non-conscious will do, the non-conscious will communicate this to your conscious mind. So how it's going to do that? Via the subconscious. So the non-conscious passes the information over here that, you know what, there's a red flag, there's one tree that needs assistance, something is not right there. So this subconscious will bring that thing into your conscious mind. So it will appear as a worry, an anxiety, stress. It will appear in different forms, right? So the non-conscious communicates to the conscious through the subconscious. Okay. So the conscious mind is now where you can actually change and figure out, okay, this tree, there's something wrong here. It needs attention, needs to be fixed, right? And then, what is the unconscious? The unconscious mind only functions when your senses are off. For example, when you go into coma, or you go into anesthesia, or you are sleeping. So that's the unconscious mind is functioning. It's active at that time. When you lose your conscious, you become unconscious. So you see, you become unconscious, right? So this one is working only when your senses are knocked out, under anesthesia, or under sleeping, or in any of those instances. Okay, so the conscious one is the one you're using right now. You're actively listening and trying to analyze things and trying to understand what I'm trying to tell you here. So this conscious mind is the only one that can change anything that is, any problem that is occurring in the whole mind, right? But this conscious mind will only get to know there is a problem here anyway when the non-conscious communicates through the subconscious and passes the signal over to you when you are conscious that, you know what, there is this tree here, we need to go and fix it and see what's wrong, right? So that's how they all function. So this one is always active. This one is the bridge that connects this to this, right? This is you when you are awake and you are conscious and active. And this is you when you are unconscious. So don't worry too much about unconscious. The main thing I want you to understand is non-conscious and conscious. And the bridge is the subconscious. Okay. Now, why is all this important? Why am I explaining all this in such detail, right? Because I want you to understand the next point. So take a screenshot of this. I'm going to erase the board and I'm going to make a new board. Right, so I'm going to erase this board. So remember, we are discussing the mind today, right? We're discussing the mind. So we got non-conscious, we got subconscious, we got conscious, and we got unconscious. So far, if there's any questions, you can type for me in the chat, and I'm going to go ahead and erase the board and write a new board. Okay, I'll give you a few minutes to type if you have a question. And if everyone is with me and understood so far, just type a yes. It says yes, Naeem says yes. Satar says yes. Satar, mashallah, marhaban, welcome. One says yes. Mashallah, all intelligent students. I have a very, very intellectual class. Alhamdulillah, I'm blessed. Mustafa Taibu says yes. Ayuba and Farooq, they say yes. Okay, alhamdulillah. So right. So let's proceed. Okay. Now that we understood non-conscious, subconscious, conscious, and unconscious, let's proceed further. So what happens in your mind, right? This is what I'm gonna show you. So where's the pen? Let's use green color. So say this is a tree. I mean, drawings is not so good, so just understand what is the concept here, right? So this is a tree. Let's say this is just a branch. Okay. So the tree has, let me use a different color here. The tree has that, the roots, the beak, what's called the trunk, then it has branches. Then the branches have leaves, right? Okay, so these are the four main parts of the tree, right? So I need you to understand these things. So we have the root, we have the what you call the trunk, we have the branches, and we have leaves. Right. So what is going on in your brain is the following things. This, what I just showed you here, this is a single thought. A single thought. When your brain, when you wake up and you start thinking, a thought has four structures. Now, this is how a thought is structured. Okay. So the thought will have a root. Let's just use pen here. So the thought has a root. The thought has a trunk. The thought has branches. And the thought has leaves. Okay. So what is going on here? So the thought is, the root of the thought is the experience. So experience is whatever happened to you. Say you woke up and so the first thing you saw is, maybe, let's say you saw the glass. So that is the experience that you had. So that's where your thought starts. I'm explaining to you the whole thought process, right? Once you understand how thoughts work, then you'll understand how the mind works. So first thing you get is the experience. So the first thing that happens when you use the mind, or when you start waking up and start thinking, you have an experience, you encounter something, right? You see something, you experience something, and that's the first thing. That's the root of the thought, right? Then the thought goes through. So you saw something, your eyes saw the glass, and you took that experience, and now that root experience passed over that information to the trunk. To the trunk. So this is how the thought is moving. You had the experience was passed over to the trunk. So the trunk is the messenger. Right. So the root, whatever experience you had, passed it on to the messenger. The messenger took it to the branches. Now the branches are where you store the thought, right? This, we can say, the memory bank. Memory, excuse my writing. I hope you understand what's going on. So here we have the memory, the memory bank, right? It's here. So you saw the glass, right? Let me use the highlighter now. So you saw the glass, right? That experience passed over that information to the messenger, that hey, there's a glass here. That the messenger passed over this information to the memory bank, the branch. Now, when it reached the memory bank, there's one of two things that can happen from here. Once it reaches the memory bank, the leaves can do one of two things. They can what you call revise, or they can interpret. Right. So let's explain this whole process. So you saw the glass, the root passed over the information to the messenger. The messenger passed the information to the memory bank. The memory passed over the information to the leaves. Right. The leaves have two jobs now. You can either whatever information is coming through, from the experience, the leaves can either revise it. If previously you already had an interaction with the glass, so the leaves will just say, okay, this is a glass and it's always kept on the table, and there's nothing to worry about. So it will just revise, or just store the information as what it had before, nothing new, and that's it. It will keep the information process will end, the thought will end. Okay. But what if now this experience was something new, right? What if the glass that you saw is a different glass, something new, something you didn't expect to be there? So you woke up, you saw a golden glass, right? Or a gold cup in front of you on the table. Now your experience is different. Now when you saw that glass, the thought is process works differently. So the root passes over to the messenger passes to the memory bank, the memory bank filters out, have we seen this thing before? So the memory bank analyzes and goes through the storage, the memory storage, and says that no, we have never seen a gold glass before. So what do we do? So the memory bank passes over the information to the leaves to interpret what is this thing that we are seeing. Okay? So now the interpretation part is where the mind has to figure out what to do with this new information. What is this new thing that we are seeing? So I told you it's a gold glass. Let's say you don't know what gold is, right? So it's everything new to you. You know a glass and a white crystal glass, but you don't know what a gold glass looks like. Now your thought process has to figure out and interpret what information it is getting from the bottom and reaching here to the top. Okay. So this is how it works. This is how a thought works. So if it's information already in the memory bank, it will just revise it and put it back there. But if there's no information here in the memory bank, when you receive a new information, now your brain has to interpret what is this new information that is going on. Now let me tell you how this has been already happening to you right now. As I'm teaching this lesson, your brain has been working in this exact way. Right? So when I started drawing this tree here, you were looking at what's going on. This is something new. I mean, this is very, very new information. So the root was experiencing something very new. And then the messengers got active. They passed over this message that you are receiving from me, and you're hearing and you're watching and you're seeing the drawings. They passed over the message to the memory bank, and they asked the memory bank, do you have this information? Obviously, you don't have the information that I'm going to teach you today, and you didn't have it before. So your mind is like in a frantic mode right now. It's like we don't have it in the memory bank. We need to interpret what is being said and what am I hearing and what I am seeing. So right now, as I speak, you are here, you are trying to interpret and make sense of what I'm talking. Right? So When I tell you what I'm talking about, once the interpretation is done, once the mind has reached a conclusion, okay, whatever this person or whatever the experience I'm receiving right now means this, right? So what it's going to do, it's going to reach a conclusion. If it does not reach a conclusion, it will remain hanging. The thought will remain hanging. Now, if I don't give you the conclusion of what I'm explaining right now, this thought will continue to hang with you until you find the conclusion. So either you will get a conclusion or you will get, or it will remain hanging. Now, the thing is, when you get a conclusion, problem solved, right? You are no stress, no anxiety, no worries, no confusion. Your mind is relaxed. Therefore, it passes over the signal to your brain to tell it that everything is okay. We are relaxed. The brain passes over the signal to the body and says everything is okay, right? We are relaxed, and you can release good hormones and relaxing hormones, dopamine and serotonin, etc., etc. So nothing to worry about. We are in calm, cool. Everything is fine, right? But what happens when the brain, when the thought is left, when the branches can't interpret, when they can't interpret and they are left hanging? So what if I just end the lesson here and leave you hanging? What's going to happen to you? You are going to be worried. Let me just write it out here. What will happen? All the things will happen if I don't give you the answer of what I'm teaching, right? So you will be, number one, worried. Worry will take over. Anxiety, right? Anxiety, fear, stress, amongst other things, right? These are the main things that will take over. So if the thought process is not complete, okay, if the root passed the information through the messengers to the branches, to the leaves, and the memory bank did not have any information of the experience that you are having right now, and so it now has to leave the leaves to do an interpretation, right? And the interpretation, we are not reaching any conclusion. We are left hanging. Once we are left hanging, that's where all this starts. That's where all this starts. If you have reached the conclusion, obviously no problem. Everything, the information will go into the memory bank. Everything is fine. The memory bank, the whole thought process will end and it will be complete. And the mind will be relaxed. Okay? But the problem is here when you are left hanging, then all this starts. All of this starts. Worry, anxiety, fear, stress, right? So, what is the problem the world is in today? These are the problems of the world. This is the problem the modern man and woman face. Worry, anxiety, fear, and stress. Everyone is worried, everyone has anxiety, everyone has fears, everyone has stress, and they can't find a solution. They can't find a solution because the thought process has not reached a conclusion. Now, the big question is, how do you get conclusion? Or how do you reach conclusion? So take a screenshot of this, and I'm going to clear the board and I'm going to explain to you the next part. Right. So take a screenshot so you know what's going on. So everyone with me so far? Type a quick yes. Let me see how active you are. One says yes, Faziri says yes, Musa says yes. MashaAllah. So you're with me. Taibu says yes. Alhamdulillah. Satar says yes. Ayub says yes. Farooq says yes. All right, Alhamdulillah. So took a screenshot. I'm going to clear the Naeem says yes. Right, I'm going to clear the board so we have room for more things. Okay, so just keep this in mind, the whole thought process. Think of it like a tree. It has roots, it has a trunk, branches, right, and leaves. So this is a thought. This is actually what a thought looks like, under a microscope, an electron microscope. This is what it actually looks like in your brain, right? So the root, the trunk, the branches, and the leaves. So I told you the root are the experiences that you interact and come across. Then that experience is passed over to the messengers. They carry the signals or impulses to your memory bank, to verify and filter out, is this information we have already received before? If we have already received this information before, so we make sense of it from there and the matter is resolved. But if it's not in the memory bank, it goes through to the leaves, and the leaves have either two options. They can revise it and say, okay, maybe it wasn't in the memory bank, but it is similar to something that is already there, so we match it to that and we put it in the same place, right? But the problem comes when it doesn't make sense, when it does not find anything in the memory bank, and now it has to reach a conclusion. It has to reach a conclusion, and how to get conclusion, we're going to discuss this in the next slide. But if it doesn't reach the conclusion, it is left hanging. When it is left hanging, this is what happens. These are all the problems that start. Okay, so now you know where the root of all these problems are, right? The root of all these problems is in this whole process of the thought. If you can learn to restructure these thought, this thought structure, if you can restructure it and learn to rewire it, you can rewire your whole brain. And if you can rewire your whole brain, your mind, your thoughts, you can rewire your mind, and you can rewire your brain. And if you can rewire your brain, you can rewire your body. And when you can rewire your body, you can rewire your life and relive or replenish your life, right? So this is the essence of your life, what I'm teaching you right now. This whole diagram here on the screen, although as confusing it may look, this is the whole crux of your entire existence, right? Because if you can correct your thoughts and you understand how thoughts work, and you can so to say override your automatic thoughts and create thoughts that are positive and that are beneficial for you, right? That will rewire your brain. You can basically change your whole life, right? This is where Allah says, "Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim." When Allah is saying Allah does not change anything in a people unless they change it themselves. What is Allah talking about? Allah is talking about exactly this thought process here. Yeah? That if you can rewire this, I will change everything for you. But if you can't rewire this, Allah says, I will not change anything in your life, no matter how pathetic it may become. Okay? So we are not taught this in school. This, you will never learn it in any school. You will never learn it in any university. You will never learn it anywhere. I have failed to find this information, available, like in a place where someone can access it. So either you are a very some elite person who has access to the latest scientific research and information, or either you are a very enlightened waliullah or pious person who has access to this information, right? If you're neither of them, I'm sorry to tell you, you're not gonna get this information anywhere else. Okay, now let's go to how to reach the conclusion, because we are hanging and we are worried, we are full of anxiety and fear and stress. So how to reach the conclusion? So I hope you took the picture there. I'm going to erase the board now. Ha, we have a clean board. Oh, my writings, as ugly they may be, they are priceless. Okay, now let's get into conclusion. So I'm going to continue from conclusion. How do we reach conclusion? How do we resolve the thought, right, of the information that we are receiving? How do we conclude? And how do we like settle the things, right? Here is where I can say here is where what I'm going to teach you is going to come in, right? And what you are learning. And here is where Rumi comes in, where Masnavi comes in, where the Quran comes in, where I come in, and where you get the answer, okay? So to reach conclusion, we must have access to following things. Absolute truth, right? So to reach for any thought to reach a conclusion, it must have access to absolute truth. Now, the absolute truth can be in any form, right? When you are a baby, absolute truth for you is mother, right? For a baby, absolute truth is mom. So when a baby is facing any situation, it calls out to the mother, and that's where it gets its conclusion from, right? For every problem that it's facing. It's hungry, mother. It's feeling dirty, mother. It wants its stomach is paining, mother. That is absolute truth for the child, right? Let's see, whatever it is, if it's windy, it's the food is not digesting, it's going to call on to the mother, right? And the mother solves all the problems, right? She is the one who has absolute truth with her, and she knows what to do in each situation. So if the child is thirsty, she knows needs to drink water. If it's hungry, she will give it milk. If the nappy is dirty, she'll change the nappy. So she is absolute truth for the child. So whenever the child has an experience and a thought goes through his mind, and the thought reaches the point of interpretation, and it reaches a need for conclusion, it always looks on to absolute truth for conclusion. So conclusion, you always look for absolute truth. So as a child, absolute truth is mom. Let's see what else can be absolute truth. As you grow, father is your next absolute truth, because that's the next closest access to reality or truth that you have, right? So first is your mother, after that, your father, okay? Now, as a child, these are your two absolute truths, right? But now as you grow up, where's this thing? Let me write it. Grow up. Absolute truth changes. Now you have other access to absolute truth in the means of teachers, friends, society, culture, media, and advertisement, ads. I'm going to shorten it up there. Now, when you are growing up and you reach a thought that needs a conclusion, so when you were a child, it was very easy. It's just go to your mother and she'll solve all the problems for you. And as you're a little bit older and you've got more conclusions you need, you go to the father and he'll solve it for you. But now as you grow up, you need new answers which these people can't answer, right? The mother does not have the answer to the truth that you need. The father does not have the answer to the truth that you need. So as you grow up, you go through the other absolute truths that you think are absolute truths, but you will only discover later on in life that they were not absolute truths. They were just subjective truths, or they were just, relative truths. So you grow up now. You face a situation, right? You have a life experience. And you need a solution. You need a conclusion for the thoughts coming up in your mind, right? For, let's say you had an experience. For example, now, you discovered you are a boy and you are different from a girl. Now you're wondering, why am I different and why is she different? Right? A thought starts. Okay, you see your body and you see the other person's body. We don't have the same things. I mean, you don't have what I have and I don't have what you have. So like, what's going on? We need the thought starts. You face an experience, and that experience now processes through your trunk. The thought process starts, and you reach in your memory bank, and there's no answers there. And so now it goes to the branches, and the branches have to reach an interpretation of what is happening in front of, in your experience, the experience you are receiving or you are seeing. How do we interpret this, right? What is the conclusion? Why am I different? Why are you different, right? So we look for answers. So our teachers tell us things, our friends tell us things, maybe society also tells you things, your culture tells you things, media is telling you things, and the advertisements are telling you things. So all of these things that you think are absolute truths, they are actually, in a very rare case, they are telling you the absolute truth, right? Most of the time, they're just manipulating you at this stage. So your teachers might not manipulate you. They might teach you, okay, boy, you are a boy because of this reasons, and this is your function. And the girl, you are a girl because of this reasons, and this is your function, right? So you're going to take that and conclude with it. You're going to reach conclusion. okay, I'm a boy because of these things, and this is my functions, and so this is what I must do, and this is how I must behave. Okay, if you're a girl, you will get some information regarding yourself, and you will conclude your thought with that information. Okay, so let's say now the information you received, the boy received the information that I'm a boy because let's say my father was a strong man, so I was born a boy because my father was strong, so I was born because of that as a boy. So I'm like my father, so I'm strong, right? So that's why I'm a boy. You see the information you get? Right. Now that information received, it concludes, it reaches a conclusion, and he thinks now, if you are not a boy, if you are not a boy, if you're a girl, means you are weak, you are not like your father, you are not strong, and you don't have the status as a boy. See that information what it does now? Right. Now this boy grows up thinking that he has more preference over her. So he is more strong, more whatever over this other person. Okay, because of whatever information is received from here, 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 here. All these things are designing your thoughts, right? Now, if you have reached the wrong conclusions regarding matters in your life experience, which we have most of the time, we don't know the experiences that we are having every day, what are they? Right? For example, if someone is in poverty, that experience of being in poverty, he cannot make sense of it. He cannot understand, why am I poor? Why am I suffering? Why am I in this situation? What is the answer? Right? His whole day, his thoughts process are in confusion. They are not reaching a conclusion. Right? Someone is telling him, you are poor because of this, you are poor because of that. Other people are telling him, you're not working hard. Society is telling him, you need to have multiple jobs. And media is telling him, you need to study and get certificates and degrees and blah, blah, blah. All of those things, you see, all of those things are not giving a proper conclusion. So when a person does not reach a proper conclusion, his life is a mess. Mess. And it's a mess because the single thought was not structured properly and the conclusion was not reached. Right. When you were a baby, you were getting conclusions as absolute truth because your mother never lied to you and your father, most cases, wouldn't have lied to you. So whatever answers you were getting, whatever conclusions you were reaching were absolute, right? Because your mother, she will never want to harm you or take advantage of you or manipulate you in any way. So she always told you the truth, right? And your father also, in most cases, also told you the truth. But as you grew up, these people here manipulated your thoughts. Okay, now once you understood how you have been corrupted, right? How your mind is being corrupted, and therefore a corrupted mind corrupts the brain. A corrupted brain corrupts the body. A corrupted body has a bad life experience, expresses life very negatively. Okay? So how do you end the mess? How do you clean up the mess? It's very simple. You go back to the conclusions that you made in your life, the thought processes that you started and that are hanging and that are not interpreted properly, right? So we have to re-conclude, we have to reinterpret. everything that we have learned, to clear up this mess here that we are in. If we want to clean the mess up, we need to go through the whole structure again. So all the thoughts that you currently have in your mind, I just showed you one, right? Like that, there are many thoughts in your mind that you have with you right now. So to solve your life out, to solve the mess in your life, you have to solve each thought and go through it and reinterpret it, right? Now remember, we need absolute truth to reinterpret, to reach the right conclusion. Because if you're going to conclude with anything else, you are going to be in a mess again. Okay, you're going to end up in a mess again, right? So now what is absolute truth? And how do we find absolute truth as adults, as, as, as we are right now? Okay, so I've given you how the mind is working. The mind works with thoughts. Thoughts have structures, right? And you can change the structure of the thought by reaching the correct conclusion. When you reach the correct conclusion, your thought process changes. And when your thoughts change, your mindset changes. When your mindset changes, your brain structure changes. And when that changes, your body functions change, your cells in your body change, and they start acting differently. When that happens, the mess is now cleared. No more mess. Okay. So we need to find absolute truth to answer all our conclusions, to reach any conclusion, to reach the right conclusion, and to reinterpret all the thoughts that we have in our brains right now. So if you're with me so far, type a yes, so I know you are with me and you are not confused, and I can proceed further. Azir says yes. Mustafa says yes. Alfon says yes. Naim says naam. Yeah, alhamdulillah. Right, so what is absolute truth? Let's come back to that. Ayub Farooq says yes. Now, what is absolute truth? Because if we don't get absolute truth, we cannot reach any conclusion. And if we cannot reach any conclusion, we cannot reinterpret the messes that we have in our thoughts. And if we can't reinterpret our thoughts, we can't restructure our mindset. If we can't do that, we can't reset the brain. And if we can't reset the brain, the body is going to have a bad experience. And you as a human being, right, will have a very bad human experience. And it's all because of your thoughts. Now let's change our thoughts and let's reach the right conclusions. Okay, so you can take a screenshot if you want. I'm going to clear the board so to get to the next point. Okay, so absolute truth. So we said to resolve all, to reinterpret everything, and to reach the correct conclusions, we need absolute truth. Now, what is absolute truth? Does not change. Right? Always is. Always is. Absolute truth never changes. It is always is as is. So For anything to be absolute truth, it must never change. It must always be as it is. Otherwise, it can't be absolute truth. Otherwise, it will be relative or subjective. Yeah? For absolute truth to be absolute truth, it must never change and it must always remain as it is. Right? So, in the world, or in our reality that we are experiencing right now, what can we claim 100% and say that this is absolute truth? And whatever I find here, I can restructure my thought process with this truth. I can reinterpret everything and make sense of everything and reach the right conclusions with this truth. What is that truth? Right? Type for me. I'm sure you know the answer already. Let me take a sip of water whilst you type. So, what is absolute truth? Because if we have access to that, we can change our entire thought structure. And you can change your thoughts, you can change your mindset, and then you can change your brain, and you can change your whole body, and you can change your whole life experience. So, what is absolute truth? Now, anyone? The answer is the absolute truth does not change. It always is as it is, never changes. So, what is that? That never changes, that is always what it is. Type for me in the chat. It is not volatile or fluid. Yes, correct. 9. Absolute truth is not volatile, it's not fluid. It's always as is. It never changes. So what is that? What never changes? What is always as it is? And that we can use to restructure our thoughts and our mindset. Naim says Allah Azza wa Jal. That's absolutely correct. So the answer is Allah is absolute truth. But now the problem is, how do we access Allah? Because Allah does not come in your senses. You can't see Him, you can't smell Him, you can't feel, you can't touch Him, you cannot hear Him, right? He's not in your sense world, he's not in your sense reach. So you can't reach Him through your senses. So Allah is absolute truth, but now how do you access this absolute truth? That's the question. How do you access it? Once you know how to access it, then you are on your way to freedom. So if anybody has any answers, type in the chat. The answer is there in front of you. You know the answer, but I don't want to just give it to you. I want you to, to use your thinking process a little bit and, suggest the answer to me. through his hub. Through his hub. I'm not understanding Naim. Through his hub. Oh, you mean through his love. Okay, so Naim says through love. So you access Allah through love, through loving Him. Okay. Anyone else with something else? Come on, I know, mashallah, you're all very intelligent. How can you access absolute truth? Through love, yes, that's one of the ways. If you really know who you are, yes. So, where is this thing gone now? Through really knowing who you are. So, self-discovery. Self-discovery, that is also correct. Another answer is his hub is expressed in his words. The Quran, very good, alhamdulillah. The Quran is absolute truth. The Quran. Anyone else with any other answer? Right, so the answers I received so far is love, self-discovery, and the Quran, which are all correct. And I explained to you how each can lead you to absolute truth. Anyone else with anything else? Right, so let's analyze now Hub of his Nabi. So, okay, let me type that also, love for the messenger. Rather, should I say follow the messengers? What else? Negating everything else other than Allah. Right, that is self-discovery. That is self-discovery. So that is also correct. It falls under self-discovery. Waziri. Mustafa says, through his makhluqati. That will fall as under self-discovery also. And Abdul Sattar says, he's having a problem with his network. Okay, Allah make it easy for you, no problem. Okay, so now let's go through what you all have said. What you all have said is correct. I'm just going to give you context of everything. So, with the highlighter, absolute truth is the thing that can rewire your thoughts and reach the right conclusion and the right interpretations and the right conclusions. Okay, absolute truth does not change. It always is as is. Absolute truth does not change. So what is absolute truth? Allah is absolute truth, right? But now not everyone has access to Allah, right? To absolute truth. You have to find absolute truth. You have to discover absolute truth. So you can discover it through love, right? How are you going to find absolute truth through love? Well, basically, love is the source of everything that exists, right? If you just analyze your body, for example, your body, each cell loves the other cell. That's why your body is still existing and keeping you alive. If the cells in your body start hating each other, your body turns into cancer and you die, right? So love is what is keeping you alive, okay? So love is absolute truth, right? So if love is keeping you alive, means love is keeping the next person also alive. And like that, you can reach, you can discover the creator, you can reach the absolute himself, right? So your body is full of love. The next body is full of love. Every creation is full of love. The trees, the plants, the animals, everything loves everything. And nature just loves everything else. You know, the trees are so loving of the humans that they produce unlimited oxygen without asking or without billing anything, right? So through love, you can, yes, you can reach absolute truth. Okay? Self-discovery. Self-discovery, yes, you can start pondering about yourself, right? Like who you are and what you are and what is all this world around you. And, looking at the trees and the plants and the ocean and the sand and try to make sense of nature. And eventually you will reach absolute truth. Another easier way is follow the messenger or messengers. Follow any of the messengers, right? So there are many messengers Allah has sent to teach humankind, to guide him, right? To pass on the truth to him, right? We have Idris, we have Nuh, we have Ibrahim, we have Yusuf, Musa, Isa, Muhammad, alayhi salam, all of them. So you can follow the messenger, any of the messengers, and you will get absolute truth. For us in our time, this is absolute truth. The Quran. We have the Quran right here with us. And the Quran is unchanged and it is as it always was. It is the absolute truth. So we Muslims, we are super lucky because we have absolute truth right here in our hands, in our hearts, in front of us. We have direct access to it, right? Now, why is it that despite having absolute truth right in front of us, we are not able to solve our lives, solve our thoughts, change our mindset, and change our brain and live a good, happy, healthy, pious, prosperous life? Why is it that despite having absolute truth, the Muslim Ummah is in the problems and distress that it is in right now? Okay, I'll give you the answer. Because we have abandoned the Quran. We have abandoned absolute truth. That's why we are suffering. Our whole thought process has been overtaken and manipulated by the enemies. Let's say, let me tell you who's the enemy that has manipulated you. Manipulators. Number one, not shaitan, nafs. Your nafs is your thing that has taken you away from absolute truth. Other one is shaitan. But the bigger one that has taken you away from absolute truth is this one. This one might surprise you. Dajjal. These three enemies have manipulated you and taken you away from the Quran. Right? They don't want you to go to the Quran for answers. Because once you go to the Quran, all your problems will be solved. But if we keep you away from the Quran, then we can keep your thoughts confused. And when your thoughts are confused, your mind is confused. When your mind is confused, your mindset is messed up. When your mindset is not right, your brain does not function properly. Your brain does not function properly. Your body does not function properly. And when that is not functioning properly, your whole life is a mess. So your whole life is a mess. You know why? Because these people have manipulated your thoughts, right? And they have taken you away from the right interpretations and the right conclusions. You must remember, let me write it here. Only absolute truth can shall I say sort out your life, or a better word will be resolve. Yeah, only absolute truth can resolve will be a right word, can resolve all matters. Now I'm going to underline this line. Read that 10 times, right? Because I want this to stick in your mind. Because if you get this in your mind, everything in your life will be sorted out, right? And all your problems will be sorted. Remember, only absolute truth can resolve all matters. I'm repeating and reading again. Only absolute truth can resolve all matters. Now, what is absolute truth? I'm going to type that also so it sticks in your mind. Only Quran is absolute truth. And I'm going to add another line below it. Everything else is subjective to the Quran. Now, the reason I'm typing this out here is to get it in your mind. I'm going to underline these things. These three lines, put them in your brain. One of my teachers taught me brain tattoo. You know what's a brain tattoo? It's a tattoo that you put on your brain. These 3 lines are your brain tattoo. So read them in order, right? The first line, only absolute truth can resolve all matters. All matters. Whatever you are experiencing in your life right now, be it a sickness, be it an emotional problem, be it stress, be it anxiety, be it fear, be it whatever, financial problems, anything that you are experiencing, all matters. Only absolute truth can resolve all matters, because it is only absolute truth that can rewire your thoughts and rewire your mind. The second line is very more important. Only Quran is absolute truth. This line you need to put it as a tattoo in your brain, because you have been brainwashed so much by Muslims and non-Muslims and media and the internet and everyone else out there telling you that something else is absolute truth. Sorry to say, but I'm going to be frank here. Most of the Muslim Ummah believes that the Hadith and Quran have the same rank, whereas that is absolute, I can say shirk, because nothing can level up to the Quran. The Quran is absolute truth. It is Kalamullah. And if you put anything equal to that, that is shirk. That is shirk. So if you say a hadith is equal to the Quran, that is shirk. I'm sorry to say, but I have to say this. That is shirk. Yes, the hadith had its place. That's why the third line. Everything else besides the Quran is subjective to the Quran. So if you want to analyze hadith and if you want to see the validity of hadith, you have to judge it with the Quran. The Quran stands in judgment over the hadith. So if the hadith is in harmony with the Quran, it is absolute truth. It is accepted just how we accept the Quran. But if it's not in harmony with the Quran, if it's going against the Quran, the hadith must be discarded, because the Prophet's words can never go against the Quran. Means the hadith that you are reading that is going against the Quran is either a mawdu'at, or either in interpolation, or some manipulator has added it in your books to confuse your deen and to cause chaos between the ummah. Okay, so those 3 lines, I'm going to repeat it so they become a brain tattoo in your mind, right? See, all my lessons are, they are building on each other. So the first lesson taught you something. The second lesson taught you something. This lesson is one of the most important lessons you will ever receive in your life. And if you get this lesson, and you just understand what I'm teaching you here, you can change your whole life, right? You can rewire your brain, rewire your thoughts, rewire your mind, rewire your body, and live a blissful life, a life that you dream of, okay? All right, so the 3 lines I'm going to read for you again. Only absolute truth. Only absolute truth. I'm repeating, only absolute truth can resolve all matters. Only Quran is absolute truth. Remember this line. It is very, very important. Only Quran is absolute truth. Everything else is subjective to the Quran. Everything else besides the Quran, be it hadith, be it إجماع, be it قياس, be it أقوال الصحابة, be it أقوال التابعين, be it أقوال العلماء, فقهاء, محدثون, مفسرون, all of that, everything else besides the Quran, be it the Torah, be it the Injil, be it Zabur, be it whatever, everything else is subjective to the Quran. Once you have these three things, these three brain tattoos in your brain, now we can reach absolute truth, right? When we have absolute truth, we can resolve all our thoughts. We can reinterpret all our thoughts. So we can go through our thoughts, what we believe in, because thoughts end up as beliefs, right? So if you believe that, let's just say, for example, money doesn't grow on trees, for example, just an example, right? If that's your belief, right, you have to take the thought structure and reinterpret it. So go through the whole thought structure. What experience you had that built, that created this thought? So you're going to go through the root of that thought. So the root of the thought was the experience. So what experience you had? Maybe growing up, your parents didn't have money, right? And whenever you ask for something, you were always told, we don't have money, money doesn't grow on trees. So you had that experience, and from that experience, your messengers passed on to your memory bank a conclusion or a belief that money does not grow on trees. It's very hard to get money, and money is something that is, the root of all evil. These are beliefs that you formed because of the experience you had, and now you have to go through the thought structure and reinterpret what you have thought. So you're going to go back to the root of the thought, where it all started. Okay, so it all started with you having a poor childhood or a difficult childhood, right? So you're going to examine it. So was this the experience that I had as a child? Was it an experience that I'm supposed to be interpreting it as I have interpreted already, or there is another interpretation to it, right? So let's say the belief was, the thought you made up was, and you were told was, and this is how you processed the thought and made it into a belief. The thought was that money doesn't grow on trees, and you believe that. And then obviously that means that it's very hard to get money and to earn money and to keep money. That's the belief that thoughts structures, right? So you have to deconstruct that structure and deconstruct the scenario and the experience that you had, and look at it with absolute truth. Does money grow on trees? Money doesn't grow on trees. Is this true? Let me examine. Money doesn't grow on trees. But trees grow money. How about that? So trees grow money. How is that? Okay, trees bear fruits. Fruits are sold for money. So money does grow on trees. You can restructure your thought and you'll be like, hey, they told me nonsense when I was young. Money, absolute truth is saying money grows on trees. Because if I have a tree and that tree has fruits, I can just take those fruits and go and get money. So that money is growing on trees. So the thought process that I have been told money doesn't grow on trees is wrong. So I need to restructure it and rewire my thought. And now I have a new belief that plants are wealth. Plants give you money. So this now reinterprets everything. Everything in your life restructures now. So now you know, okay, if I have one apple tree, I can make in a year, let's say it produces 10,000 apples, and an apple is sold for $1. So 10,000 apples means 10,000, right? So 1 year with one tree, I can make $10,000, right? $10,000. Or now you start thinking now, Hey, that's one tree giving me 10,000. What if I have 100 trees and each tree gives me 10,000? Ha, I will be a millionaire in a year. Wow, money grows on trees. What they have been telling me in my childhood, money doesn't grow on trees. Nonsense. Money does grow on trees. You see, when you rewire your thoughts, what happens? The world, everything opens up for you. That's why I said absolute truth can resolve all matters. Yeah? Only Quran is absolute truth. Everything else is subjective to the Quran. Right. So that is the lesson on how you rewire your mind. Right? You rewire your mind by rewiring your thoughts. And I gave you the whole thought structure and how do thoughts work. Thoughts are not just random things. Because we have been told you can't control the mind, you can't control your thoughts. We have been told all these lies, right? And we have believed these lies, like I can't control my mind. My thoughts are out of my control. Many times we sit and we are thinking, and someone asks us what you're thinking about. Why are you thinking about this thing? And you're like, I can't stop thinking about it. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't stop, having this thought. That is a false belief that you have, that you can't stop thinking about that thing. You can. You have been brainwashed to believe you can't, right? So you need absolute truth to resolve all your matters. So that is the lesson for today. And that is the structure of thoughts and mindset. And that is how the mind is or functions. So mind functions with thoughts. Thoughts have structures, and you can restructure it with absolute truth. And you can do that right now, starting today. You can rewire your whole mindset, take absolute truth, and rewire all your thoughts, whatever they are, whatever you believe in, whatever you think about, whatever you have experienced in your life. You can just go back and rewire it with absolute truth. Yeah. All right. So that's how you change your thoughts. When you change your thoughts, I told you, you change your mind. Change your mind, you change your mindset. When you change your mindset, you change your brain structure. When your brain structure changes, your hormone structure changes, your cell structure changes, and the way your body functions starts to change. And when that starts to change, your life experience changes, right? And so if you want to change the world around you, change your thoughts, restructure your thoughts, and you can restructure the whole world around you. Yeah. So that was a bit of a powerful lesson and a bit of a, a bit of a huge, I can say, bubble to absorb for you. So I'm gonna conclude here, and inshallah we will continue tomorrow with some other things. But for today, that's where I will stop it, inshallah. And if you understood and if you grasped what I just told you and I taught you today, if you just take today's lesson and put it in practice, you can change anything in your life. Right? It's in your hands. Allah said, it's in your hands. Allah said, I will not change until you don't change it yourself. It means Allah has given you the power and the choice and all the necessary means for you to change your life. So all you have to do is start using your choice and restructuring your thoughts, and then Allah will change your condition. Yeah? إن الله لا يغير ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم. Now, the thing is that no one teaches you what I taught you today. You will not find this anywhere else, right? And the reason they don't teach you this is because they don't want you to be a competition or to win, or they're scared of competition, right? So they don't want you to have access to this information, because if you have access to this, I mean, you can outwin anyone in anything, in any situation, and you will never be in a problem. You'll never be in a dependency to anything, because you will become independent. بإذن الله. نعم. So we'll end it there. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين.